Good evening and welcome to NUFC Matters. Steve Wraith here doing double time tonight after my show with Holly. We're covering something which I have supported for the last 12 months now, which is a campaign called Change Your Life, Put Down Your Knife. And the man behind that campaign is Ben Spann. Good evening, Ben.
How's it going, Steve? You all right, mate?
Yeah, good to see you, mate. And obviously we were introduced to each other last year. You pinged us a T-shirt. This is the beauty of social media. Did a little promo video for you. And great campaign. Let's talk about that first. Where did the idea come from? And why did you decide to do it?
So going back about 12 months ago, maybe 18 months ago, I had a breakdown. Just a result of multiple things that had built up over a period of time in my life. During the breakdown, I was helping a young lad called Kieran who was he'd been stabbed 3 times. He was living in a crack den. And although I was suffering myself, I didn't realise at the time that I was actually having a breakdown. But it made me feel good about myself, you know, and a bit more normal knowing that I was helping this young lad. So after finally, when it did come out that I was suffering with a bit of anxiety and I was struggling with life basically. When it finally came out that's what was wrong with me, I decided that I wanted to get more involved in the helping side of helping people. So it was the result of Kieran, really, a young lad that lives in the town where I'm from. So
yeah, I mean, you know, it's a fantastic cause. And I think it doesn't matter where you live now in the UK, people are getting affected by knife crime, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. It's we're suffering. It's bad times that we're in at the moment, you know. And I've got a 15-year-old kid, and I fear for him. It's not so much that I fear for the way that he is; it's the people that he's associating with, or potentially what could happen to him. I think that's the same with most parents with kids this age as well. You know, it's a scary thought. You never settle whilst he's out and whilst they're out playing, or you're always asking what he's doing and what he's up to. It's scary, really. It is scary times.
How difficult was it for you to set this in motion, and you know, where did you come up with, you know, the name? I suppose that I've seen other people with anti-knife crime messages. You know, how did you start off doing this?
So it started off with it was just an idea that I came up with, and I'll be honest, this whole campaign is naturally taking its own path. I've guided it in a certain direction, but I've not pushed for anything I've not pushed for it to end up where it is now. I mean, we're quite big now. I mean, our Facebook page, we've got over 15,000 members on there. And also the work that we're doing in the community now as well. We're being sponsored by our local government, local council. We've just got involved with a big organisation called Spar Bar. So we're being represented by them as well. So it's just all naturally taking its own path. So yeah, it's one of them things, you know. I've set business up before and tried to push them out and put a lot of effort into it, and they don't really go anywhere. Whereas this, I believe it's to do with good karma, really, if that's the right word. I think that because we're doing something good, it's just naturally progressing in the right direction.
You've had the support of some fairly high-profile former criminals, and I mean, just to name them in no particular order, you know, prolific armed robber Terry Ellis. You've had support from Dave Courtney, of course, celebrity gangster, Stephen French from Liverpool. You know, even somebody who used to work the doors up in Newcastle, Chet Sandu, who I've interviewed on the programme, has been a big supporter of the campaign as well. So, you know, to get those kind of people on board, how much does that mean to you?
To be honest, we wouldn't be where we were today if it wasn't for the likes of these guys. They've all got lived experiences. Although I founded the campaign and I've stirred it in a certain direction, these guys have been the backbone of it all, really, especially Terry Ellis. I mean, Terry Ellis is a very, very intelligent guy. And he's at the end of the phone for any questions. And sometimes he has to rein me in a little bit or ring me up and say, Ben, you need to take that post down, or I'll ring him up if I've got an interview with the newspapers or the TV or something, and I'll run through with him what I'm going to say. So Terry's played a massive part in it, but so's like to Brian as well. Brian's been highly involved in it, and without these guys and their life experiences, I don't think we'd be where we are now. You know.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that I stumbled across when I was doing a little bit of research was just the support from the boxing world. And I mean, Ace's gym, which was obviously a gym in your area, has got behind it as well. And I went from the unlicensed game. I did 7 years in that as a promoter into the pro game, which I've been involved in now for 10 years. But again, that's something which is vital. And I think if you're trying to get young kids off the streets and getting them to put their knives down, they've still got that energy. They've still got something, maybe it's even pent up aggression. We don't know, each individual kid is brought up in a different way. They need somewhere to go to use that energy up. And boxing gyms are a great place for youngsters to go and, learn a new craft, learn a bit of discipline and get themselves on the right track.
Yeah, we've been using boxing as our main form of getting kids off the street, basically. But we also sponsor local football teams as well. So we've provided them with our logos, equipment, merchandise. So it might be training kits, could be their actual football shirts. So we're not solely aiming at boxing. Boxing is just a route that we've sort of taken. I mean, our campaign are actually partners in a boxing club as well. That's a different boxing club on the picture to what we're actually partners in. But again, it's just a local boxing club that's given us their full support, basically. So I think boxing's a good route to go down. Like you said, it helps them take their frustration out if they've got any. It gives them discipline, and it's something that changing your friends, your circle of friends. When you start training in the boxing gym and you're with these people 3 days a week, for argument's sake, these people start becoming your friends, and when you're sparring with them, you start building up close relationships with these guys. You've got to trust them in the ring to spar with them for a start, to make sure that they're not going to take advantage, etc. So it's a good way of changing your circle of friends, especially if you've been involved in county lines, which is a massive problem all over the country now. So.
Yeah, county lines is certainly something which is more prevalent now than it ever was. I mean, gangs as well, gangs of kids, and I mean, there'll be people who watch these podcasts who probably sit in their homes and are completely oblivious to this. But I guess those same people must watch the news and hear virtually on a daily basis now about the people who are being and the youngsters who are being stabbed to death in London. I mean, London is the worst place at this moment, isn't it, in the UK for knife deaths.
Yeah, London's got the high rate, and also North Warwickshire is one of the highest rates as well. I think in the list of tables of highest rates, there's only 2 boroughs in London that actually top into the top 5, and then there's the North Warwickshire's got quite a high rate as well. So it's all over the country. Warwickshire is probably classed as quite an affluent area. We've got the likes of Leamington Spa and Warwick with the castle, etc. But it all still goes on. It goes on all over the place. It's not just, you can't just single it out to the capitals now. It's in the towns and everything.
So what kind of things do you do, Ben? I mean, I did check the Facebook page out this week, and something that I think you only put it out yesterday. You essentially were contacted by a parent whose 17-year-old son was brought a knife for his birthday from his friend. Yeah. So the knife, luckily, was confiscated by his mother, and he was contacted and you were contacted to dispose of the knife. I mean, is that the kind of thing that you're doing on a day-to-day basis with this?
So we're going down multiple avenues. So that's one of the avenues we're going down. Is we're trying to promote now, or more recently, we've been promoting trying to get rid of excess kitchen knives. Access kitchen knives make up 70% of knife crime, whether it's domestic violence or whether it's youth violence. So something we're trying to promote is to dispose of any excess kitchen knives. But at the same time, we're offering a service where we will go and collect weapons off parents or kids if they've got them. A while ago, we took two massive machetes off the street. And Christ knows how these kids were walking around the street with them. I mean, these things should have been in the Amazon rainforest. You know, it's not something
God.
that's on the streets of Coventry. So yeah, other avenues we're going down. So we've started an initiative called Pop-Up Boxing Sessions, which has just been funded by our local district council. So we're basically taking the basics and fundamentals of boxing, and we're taking it to the kids rather than the kids having. Well, I mean, we've got plenty of boxing clubs around here, but it's a bit intimidating for a novice to go into a boxing club and feel as if they can fit in when you've had people there for 12 months, 2 years. So we're taking the boxing sessions to the kids, to their local community centres, where the kids can just learn the basics and fundamentals. So when they do actually start attending these clubs, local clubs, that they're not intimidated by the people that are there, and they feel that they'll have a bit of experience where they can just slot in, you know, and crack on with what they're doing. So that's one of the initiatives. We've set up another initiative called the Gear Up Scheme, which is where we basically provide kids from less fortunate families or backgrounds with the equipment to attend any sports facility. So it could be shin pads or boots, could be boxing gloves or wraps, or it could even be that we pay the subs for these clubs for a period of time. So it's to allow these kids to go and enjoy the sports that they want to get involved in at the cost of at the expense of the campaign. You know, I mean, sometimes these are the reasons why these kids don't attend these training sessions, etc.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, doing stuff like that is great, and you're tackling it in your area. But I didn't, you know, mention, but obviously Coventry's like your neck of the woods, isn't it? That's where you're from. Is the hope that you can expand this up and down the country to push it out to other regions? Are you looking at doing that? Are you walking before you can run?
No, so what the idea is, so about 6 months ago, we set up some ambassadors which represent our campaign in their local areas. I think we've got about 14 ambassadors on board now. With COVID that's happened and the restrictions and the lockdowns, it sort of put the ambassadors' job roles to a bit of a standstill. But it's worked in our favour because it's allowed us to implement certain things in our area. Which and now have been tried and tested, and we've got facts and stats to prove that they actually work. So the next thing then will be to enroll these programs out or these initiatives out to the ambassadors to help push them out in their local areas as well. So it's something that we're definitely looking at doing is spreading this more nationwide. But again, we want to have them tried and tested before we can actually implement them elsewhere. So yeah, it is something we're looking at doing. But again, we need to make sure that they're working. There's no point implementing something in a different area if it's not working in our area.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, I mean, it's great to see, and you know, I know there has been other initiatives set up. I mean, you know, spoken to one or two people on the show on other podcasts about their initiatives, and you know, I'm not one to get involved in, you know, in anything unless I think it's worthwhile, and that's why whenever anybody contacts me about this, I think it's very important. I've been out to schools personally. I've been a school governor of a school as well, and try to help those kids who are going off the wrong track. Then, you know, the ones who maybe aren't going into school, the ones who aren't attending on a regular basis. And if I can help one kid and go in and say, look, I run 2 businesses, and if you're not going to come into school, and you know, when you leave school, your attendance is 50%. Then if somebody comes to me with a CV and says, "Can I get some work?" and one person's got 100% on and you've got 50%, I know who I'm going to take on. Do you know what I mean? So I do my bit in that way, but supporting, you know, campaigns like yours, I think is very, very important, and I'll always give time on the podcast for them. A couple of other things I want to talk about. Obviously, boxing in the park. Again, it's boxing. This is a new initiative you've just started off. Tell us a bit about that.
So the pop-up boxing sessions are basically based for 10 to 16-year-olds to attend. So again, so for the council to be involved, we had to move them from the community centres to the green spaces. The reason being the council's trying to tackle county lines problems. So these are the high areas that kids are being recruited into county lines through these parks, etc. So the idea behind the council getting involved in funding this was that we moved them from the community centres to the green spaces. So that's basically what we've been doing. But Unfortunately, we live in England. The weather's not always on our side, so we can only do them on the sunny days. But we have got the community centres to fall back on if it does rain, so the kids aren't going to lose out. But the initiative of doing it in the green spaces is weather permitted, basically. So.
Yeah, no, it's great stuff. Great initiative, though. You know, getting kids busy and active, and of course, the big event, which is Fight Night Live, which is in August. Wow, Crime Stoppers would love that lineup, mate.
Yeah.
You've got some faces from all eras and all decades. Tell us a little bit about this and what's going on there.
So it's a charity boxing event that we've set up, but we've sort of incorporated these guys all represent the campaign. Every single one of them, we've got the full support of, and I deal with on a regular basis. So these guys are all coming together under one roof, which I think is the first time that all of these guys have actually been together in one place. They're supporting the 10 fights of boxing that we've got organised. We've got a charity auction. We've got a adult comedian, so it's not just a night of boxing, you know. Also, each fight is named after a loved one that's lost their life. So their parents and families are coming together, and each bout is named after the loved ones that they've lost. So they're going to be involved in the night as well. They're going to be handing the bouts over along with the sponsors to the winner of each fight. So yeah, I'm fighting on it myself, mate. I'm fighting first. I've organised it and I'm fighting on it. It's really becoming the pain in my ass, mate. To be honest with you, I didn't really sleep much last night because I had everything twirling around in my head, you know. So it's getting quite stressful now. It's 12 days away, and I'm starting to feel the pressure now, mate.
Are the tickets going well?
Not as well as I had hoped. I'll be honest. I was hoping that we would have had all the ticket sales wrapped up by now, but that's not the case. Again, massive reasons I think is COVID, etc. I think people have just got so used to staying in now. I thought that with the faces that we've got there, and they're not just ex-criminals. We've got the likes of Jimmy Batten going. We've got a pro PGA golfer attending. So I would have thought with the people that we've got going that they would have ticket sales would have sort of sold themselves, but it's been tough. I'm still pushing for ticket sales now as we speak. So
where can people buy tickets, Ben?
So basically, we're using a ticket agent called the Little Box Office. So if they type in the Little Box Office and then Faces Productions, you can buy the tickets on there. What that does is they email you a ticket instantly. So as soon as you've put the payment in and the transaction's gone through, the ticket for the night gets posted emailed straight to your email box, basically. So
good stuff. It's at the Ricoh Arena, and that is Saturday the 21st of August, Fight Night Live. Lots of famous faces going, some infamous faces going as well. 10 elite unlicensed fights, adult comedian, charity auction, book signings. And is that our very own Gary Furby in the middle?
Yeah, it is, mate. He's come out of retirement to fight on the night.
The Duke of Windy Nooks, he's had more comebacks than Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, he's having another comeback, mate. He said he's going to do this last one. He's fighting a guy called Jason Gates, who he actually trained. So the reason they're fighting, there's no animosity in it or anything like that. They're literally doing it to raise awareness for bullying. So that's their side of it. And again, bullying and trolling is another reason why kids are carrying knives. So it's all linked in with each other. So it'd be interesting to see Gary back in the ring. So
yeah, of course it will. Good luck to Gary and good luck to all the fighters and good luck to you with that event. Look, you know, I know you've been on some bigger podcasts, some of the true crime ones that focus on the past. You've got a little bit of a past yourself. Tell us a little bit about the cannabis situation that you had.
Yeah, so since the age of 16, I've been involved in cannabis. It started off probably like most kids do. You know, it started off having the odd joint now and again, and then just progressed from there. Really realised there was a market with my friends that they couldn't get hold of it, and I could. Started selling it to them, and it just went on from there basically to the point where I was selling quite a lot of it. The cannabis dried up. It was an import that we were getting. early 2000s, that dried up and people started cultivating their own cannabis. So with me being an electrician, I found a little niche in the market to rig the meters basically. So that's what I've done for a few years. Realised that wasn't really what I wanted to carry on doing, and jumped into cultivating myself. So yeah, that's a bit about my background on that.
What happened then? What happened with that, Ben? I mean, from your perspective, it's a big jump to do that. I mean, did you get caught? What happened?
Yeah, we did get caught in one of the properties. It got NFA'd, so I think it's still an investigation. That if any evidence came to light, I mean, they can't prove that I was in there anyway. So but if any evidence came to light, then it's something that they could bring back up. But in many years ago now, I'm probably talking 10 years ago. So I've changed. I'm not into this anymore. I'm against all drugs. So yeah, there's multiple things. My mentality always led me to, I always wanted to go one step further with everything, So I went from smoking it to selling it, from selling it to rigging the electric meters, from rigging the electric meters to cultivating. And it was just the circle of friends that I was operating with, You sort of, you get attached to different people and you progress as you go up. So, but my theory is that there's no money in drugs at the end of the day. The only winner is the authorities. You could be doing it for years and you get caught, you get sent to prison, you get a proceeds of crime order slapped on you, and you lose everything. So it's the mugs game basically. That's my thought on it now, to be honest.
And that's great, and I think that highlights the work that you do now. I think that gives you the experience basically to be able to go out there and give this talk to youngsters. Do you know what I mean? I mean, where do you see this going? I mean, are you going into schools? Are you looking to go into schools to talk to the youngsters on a regular basis? Do you do that kind of thing?
Not at the moment. It's something that we've been trying to do, but it's hard because no schools like to admit that they've got a knife crime problem. Not only that, it's hard to initiate the first school to get into. I have been into one school in Coventry, and it was meant to lead into me going in there on a weekly basis. I don't know whether it was down to funding or I don't know why it never materialised, but I went in there once and nothing came off the back of it. I had a meeting with the local police crime commissioner, the local inspector, and a few other organisations who said that they were going to help us get into the schools. But again, nothing's materialised. And again, COVID. We set this up at the beginning of COVID. We've managed to grow and expand to where we are now with all these restrictions in place. I can see this being big. I think next year is going to be a good year for us. I think we will have these programs set up for the education system. So yeah, that's the plan. I want to get this as big as we can. I want to make as much awareness and as much noise as I possibly can, basically, to make knife crime. I know we're fighting a losing battle, it feels like, but the more awareness we can create with parents and with the youth, I think the more chance we've got of making a difference.
Do you get much support from the police and the council?
So there's a story behind this. So I wasn't getting no support off any of them. I was screaming and shouting. So in the last elections, I decided to run for county councillor in my local area. And I ran for an area called the Brunswick ward, which is has the highest crime rate in our area. I didn't do very well. I think I got 27 votes or something like that. But what I did was stamped my feet that hard that the councillors and the police crime commissioner and the authorities had to take note of me. I'd come in like a whirlwind. My policies were great. They all supported the policies and the campaign that I was doing. And that's what's opened all the doors for me now. In my eyes, although I only got 27 votes, I was still a winner. I put myself on the map with these guys, and now they've started to take note, and we're actually getting somewhere now. So if it wasn't for me running for county councillor, I think we'd still be stuck at a bit of a standstill, to be honest.
What can the government do you think, to help, causes like yours?
I think they need to start taking note with the likes that the people that we've got involved in the campaign, the experience that they can give and the knowledge that they have is worth 100 times more than what a police officer could ever give. Kids have got no respect for police officers. Unfortunately, the police don't do any prevention work. They only attend a crime once it's happened. So I think the police really need to be involved in more of the prevention side of things. I think that would be good. And I think they need to start building their relationship with the youth a little bit more as well. I know from growing up myself, I had no respect for the police. I think it's just the world that we live in. But if maybe seeing a few more community police officers, the same faces actually walking the streets. To see a police officer now, to even see a police car on the street nowadays, it's not like it used to be. You hardly ever see a police car on the streets. It's the government, the police are overworked and underfunded, unfortunately. But again, it's like anything with this government we've got. It's same with our NHS, same with the school teachers. It just seems to be a common problem, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, look, at the end of the day, mate, it comes down to money, doesn't it? It comes down to money. It comes down to budgets, and that ultimately comes down to which party is in power at which particular time. But police numbers have been on the decline for many years, and of course that does affect what happens on the streets, because the police then prioritize different crimes and what have you, and that's what leads to more unrest and more crime on the streets, unfortunately.
I mean, since Conservatives have been in, I'm not anti. I voted Conservatives, so I'm not a political person. I'm not Labour. I'm not pro Conservatives. I'm pro facts and stats, and it's facts that over the last 10 years, that 80% of kids' youth facilities have been cut. I remember when I was a kid, there used to be a youth club in every town, every village. You don't see that now. I mean, in my area, I think we've got 3 main youth clubs that don't do a great deal. Could be doing a hell of a lot more. I think the government, I think the councils are doing a little bit more now with our pop-up boxing sessions. We have the outreach team that come round, and they engage with kids, so they know the areas and who's up to what. So I think the councils are trying to do a little bit more, but I don't think everyone's aware of what's being done. I think they need to make it more common to the likes of us and the community of what's actually being done to help these kids.
You talked at the top of the program about your battle with mental health. Now, obviously, we've been through, a pandemic, something which I don't think any of us could have anticipated having to live through. How did you cope with that 15 month situation where, essentially we had lockdown, etc.? How did you keep yourself busy, and what kind of advice would you give to anybody who's potentially sitting at home watching this, who is feeling in that same, helpless situation that you found yourself in?
Yeah, I mean, my breakdown happened during the first lockdown that we had, but it had nothing to do with the lockdown. It was just to do with the multiple of things that had just accumulated over my life at work, just general stress. It didn't feel like I was good enough for my family. Didn't know how to explain it to them. But during the lockdown, I set the campaign up, and this campaign has been my drive and motivation, and it's kept my mind active, and it's kept me busy. So I also started training to box myself. After I went over to Ireland, to my little brothers, to kind of sort my head out and get my head straight. When I came back, that's when I started training. So I've been training just over 12 months myself now. So boxing has been a relief for me. I've also got a good network around me. My wife's brilliant. My son and my family, my parents, etc. So I've got a big community. I've got a lot of brothers, and we all get on really well. We never have fallouts. If we do, it's a little bicker, but we always make back up again straight away. So I've got a good network of people around me. And also the likes of Terry and people like that, and Brian, they've been a godsend to me as well. They've been there at the end of a telephone call if I ever need them. And like I said, Terry's the voice of reason. That's what I class him as. So.
Yeah, we've got to give our best wishes to Brian Cockrell as well. Hope he makes a recovery. He's had a horrendous time the last few weeks, and our thoughts obviously go to him and Emma, because Brian's had some back surgery. It's gone wrong. He's had to go back in, and you know, it's been a tough few months for them. But thoughts with them. I know they've been big supporters of the campaign, and likewise shout out to Terry as well. Luckily I got a chance to meet Terry a few weeks ago, and I've supported his work over the last few months as well, which has been great. Read his book, and Terry Ellis, well worth having a look at. He's appeared on a few podcasts as well, so just Google Terry Ellis's name, and you will find him. I also picked up on your Facebook group. Obviously, you're supporting a lot about social media and children, mate, and that's something that I always pay attention to. I've got kids, and it's something which again creeped in probably a little bit more during lockdown. I mean, anyone who's got kids of a certain age will know that they're literally face down in the iPads or the phones or whatever. And that is the way of the world. But during lockdown, that became a lot more prevalent. Kids were working from home, they were homeschooling, and obviously on top of that, a lot of screen time with trying to catch up with their friends, etc. Unfortunately, although the internet is such a wonderful place and can educate and help keep people in touch and introduce people, it's also has its darker sides, and that's something which I've noticed on your group. You've been pushing a little bit and talking about and highlighting, and it's sickening to see so many predators out there using the internet for evil.
Yeah, I mean, social media is, in my opinion, is killing society. It's the kids are setting up fake accounts. The kids are using it to attack each other, but equally, the adults are doing exactly the same thing. Adults are pretending to be kids. They're grooming our kids. It's really. I mean, so what I believe is that the government need to put some sort of action in place where you need to use photo ID to set up an account, whichever social media account it is. This will cut out any of these online trolls or any of these predators that are out there. People aren't going to be doing it if they've got to use their own account. They're going to think twice about actually trolling someone. Like, for argument's sake, with the football, people, when there was the racist abuse with the football, people have been held accountable for that, and it just makes it a lot easier if people are using genuine accounts. I mean, I could sit here now and open up a fake account in seconds, and start trolling our live feed. It's just, I believe that something really needs to be done about that.
Now, you mentioned football. That's what we talk about on this channel. Have you got a football team, Ben?
Yeah, I'm a bit ashamed to admit it, mate, but it's Coventry City. Although they've been doing a lot better, but I used to have a season ticket for Coventry City. It was when they were originally in the Championship a few years ago, many years ago. I used to get that fed up of going there. I used to leave there more pissed off than when I went. So yeah, when they got relegated, the season ticket went, and I've not really followed football ever since that moment, to be honest with you. So.
Well, we do have at least one good player in common from back in the day, Mickey Quinn.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mickey Quinn. He's had goals, had boots, and had goals, and he would travel. Like, he was a great player for Newcastle. And I remember going to Coventry, and I think Coventry might well have been in the Premier League when Quinny was down there. And I think I've got some kind of memory of Quinny getting a hat trick.
Really?
Yeah, I think he did.
I was told about you and your football knowledge and remembering all the scores from matches and things like that. It was actually by Frank Petoni that mentioned it to
me. Yeah, to the point. Now, he's another big football fan as well. But no, good stuff. You know what I mean? Good stuff. Ryan says, Ben, you want Steve Bruce, mate? Coventry, Christ. That'll finish Coventry off if you get Steve Bruce. Joking aside. I mean, obviously, you're in the ring boxing, and obviously you're going to do this bout. Are you a boxing fan?
Yeah, I enjoy boxing, mate. I tend to watch any of the pay-per-views that are there. I'd love to go to an actual big event, maybe one over in Vegas or something like that. It's on my wish list. Yeah, I'm a keen boxing fan. Yeah, my knowledge isn't all that good, but I just like to see the top fighters. My favourite boxers is Fury. I think he's great. I said from day one when he was overweight and he was making his comeback, I said that he would dominate the heavyweight division. People told me that I was mad and all sorts, but he's on his way to doing it, isn't he? So.
Yeah, I mean, you've answered my next question, I guess. Really, when I'm going to ask you, AJ and Fury, if it ever happens, who do you see winning that fight?
I've got to say Fury. I put all my faith into Fury. I think he doesn't get the credit that he deserves. To be honest, he's not the best bloke to watch, style-wise, etc. But he's got some talent, hasn't he? For a guy that's 6'7" or something like that, he can move, mate, can't he? So.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I can't see past Fury in that fight. I genuinely think that Tyson Fury will be too much for AJ. The only problem you have is timing. And the big fights that the public all want to see is, they never always happen at the time that they should. I mean, Pacquiao against Mayweather, that was the most hyped fight for years. But when it came about, it was too late. Mayweather cruised it, really. Pacquiao just wasn't the fighter he was. And that is my big worry, that, that Tyson has, has that opportunity taken away from him. I mean, and Deontay Wilder and Usyk, we can't overlook these fighters. I mean, Deontay Wilder against Fury is not a fight I particularly want to see again. No. But who's to say that Fury's going to win that one?
I think Fury will. I think he the first fight, I couldn't believe that he knocked him out and he got back up again. My heart sank when I watched that. But the second fight, he just destroyed him, didn't he? And I can't see that Wilder will ever come back from that mentally. I think that'll play on his mind forever. I know it would play on my mind if someone wiped the floor with me and then you try to come back. In terms of Usyk, I don't know. I watched Usyk. Who did he fight? I watched him fight. Bloody hell, who was it? I can't think of who it was, but it was a popular guy anyway, and it was a great fight. But I can't see Usyk being any good in this division, to be honest. I may be wrong, but I think Joshua will be beating him.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's certainly going to be interesting. I think the thing that people really, look at Fury about as well, he's become the people's champion. AJ certainly was that, but Fury's become that. And again, comes back down to what we started talking about at the start of the show, mental health. He's been a great ambassador for that, hasn't he? Fury.
Yeah, you've got to give Fury the credit. I mean, to come back from where he was, I mean, he was huge, wasn't he? He was drinking, taking drugs, his mental health was bad. And for him to come back to where he is now, you've got to give the guy credit. He's an inspiration to people, isn't he? At the end of the day, so I've got nothing against Joshua. I think Joshua is a great fighter, but I just believe that Fury's just got something about him that's special.
Yeah, I think for AJ against Usyk, I think what will be in his mind is that Ruiz fight. I mean, he went in for whatever reason, he wasn't right. And people are saying that Usyk doesn't really stand a chance. I don't know, boxing's a funny old game, more of a funny old game than football is these days. And I think that Usyk will be a test for AJ. If he doesn't go in the right frame of mind again, there could be a shot on the cards there. But I think Usyk's too small. I agree with you. I don't think he's going to dominate the heavyweight division. But fair play for him for going in and giving it a try.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I've watched Usyk a few times, and he takes a while to get going, doesn't he? He's one of them fighters that it takes him a few rounds to find his feet and actually and get himself to where he needs to be. But he picks them off, doesn't he? And you can't. You've got to give him credit for his talent as well, what he's done in the lower division. But I think Joshua is just going to be too big and too powerful for him, to be honest.
Yeah, I would agree. It is going to be interesting. So obviously you're pushing the event over the next couple of weeks. Hopefully that goes well. It's a success, and you can build on that. What do you want to do in the future? Do you see yourself doing more events like that to raise the profile?
Yeah, so this event we're hoping to do annually. We're actually hoping to bring it up near Newcastle, because we've got a big following coming down from Newcastle. One of the family members that lost their loved ones to knife crime was from Newcastle. So we're hoping to do something up there next year. hopefully just move it around the country, to different locations where it's relevant to the families. But we're hoping to do it annually. So each fight is named after a lost loved one. They win a bout, and hopefully next year the winner can take the bout, and have the chance to win it again. So.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea, and great to hear that you've got so much support from the Northeast. You also have got involved with somebody who does T-shirts and stuff like that. Do you want to give them a bit of promo tonight?
Yeah, so we're just doing some work with, again, Paul Eddy is a guy that is one of our ambassadors. He owns a boxing gym in the Northeast, and it's called the Seconds Out Boxing Gym. So Paul Eddy and us have done a bit of a collaboration for some T-shirts. So yeah, I think we released them last week. I think it was. So Rocky Holmes was posted in one on our page. So that's something that we've just set up. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Great stuff. Well, where can people find more information about the campaign? You've got a Facebook page. I believe that's what it's called. Change Your Life, Put Down Your Knife, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. So if they was to search Change Your Life, Put Down Your Knife on Facebook, that's our main social media platform. We are on other platforms like Instagram, but the following on there isn't really as big, and I'm more of a Facebook man, so that's our main page that we use.
Yeah, great stuff, mate. Well, listen, best of luck with the boxing event. I know how hard it is to put those on. I've done many myself. Don't forget, tag me in it, and I'll share it on the social media. Anything else you want to say, or anything else you want to promote before we come to an end?
No, I will ask you a question. Whether you want to answer it, mate, is entirely up to you.
Go for it.
What's your thoughts on the YouTube wars on the going on at the moment with everyone? Because
interesting. Okay, well, I will answer it. I don't bow out of any questions. I'll ask you the same one back once I've given my answer. I think some of it's fabricated. I think some of it's genuine, and I think some of it is a waste of energy. And I think the big ones, the big guns out there, which are, of course, the True Geordie is the biggest, good pal of mine, big Newcastle fan. He's got 2.5 million. He doesn't need to worry about these kind of things. He just switches off. He probably doesn't even see the troll comments he gets. But obviously the big one everyone's talking about, I guess, is Sean Atwood against James English. I'm friends with both of them in the sense that, they have both given me their platform, to promote my books, to promote my documentaries, and to promote myself. And I'll be thankful to both of them for that. Do I listen to what people say about either of them? No, because, from my perspective, those guys are still given the platform on YouTube to do what they want to do. And as somebody who's a promoter and somebody who has got things to sell, then I would be stupid not to go on either of their platforms. So I think the fallout between the two guys is sad, because when I first got to know them, it was James English who gave me the platform first. James then introduced me to Sean. Sean then got me on his show. They were working together. They were pushing each other's, contacts to each other, and they were working together. Sadly, there's been a parting of the waves. There's been a problem between the two of them. Can that be changed? Can it be rectified? Can there be any peace made? I would like to think so. But it's up to those two guys. It might have gone too far. I don't know enough about a lot of these other characters. I've seen the fallouts between Marvin Herbert. I've seen the fallout between the Living in London account. I've seen the Darren G stuff. I've also seen Liam from Liverpool, who I've interviewed. That podcast will be going up in the next couple of weeks. Great guy. Really, I like him. I invited Darren to Newcastle. I wanted to meet Darren for myself, and I interviewed Darren. It's up on the comments page. I got trolled a lot for interviewing Tommy Robinson. I don't see anything wrong with interviewing people on a platform, as long as you hold them to account for some of the things, and you're not promoting these people. I was impartial. My interview, I thought, was good. Had over 50,000 views before it got hidden behind a YouTube screen. But yeah. And of course, the one that people will want to know about is me and Paddy Conroy. Paddy Conroy in Newcastle has made a a point over the last 3 months of having a pop at me and the Sears family in Newcastle. Probably a good time to read an email that I did send him last night. I still haven't had a reply from it, but maybe this is a good time for it. Maybe this is a good time for it to go live because he hasn't replied. I just sent him an email last night. It says, "Hi, admin," and "Hi, Conroy," because those of you who've been watching this particular battle will know that he's got an admin now who nobody knows. But apparently this guy's committed murder in some shape or form. Anyway, I put, "Hope all's good in the shed this fine day. Keep up the great work on the videos. I'm really enjoying them. Comedy gold, to be honest. You need to work on your camera angles. Not very flattering. Maybe get Rhonda or your murder admin to hold the camera higher to hide the double chin. This is a reply to your original email of paperwork you sent me on the 15th of the 10th, 2009. Hardly a mountain of paperwork that you claim. You have shared this on your social media many times and it is nothing new. Let's get some facts straight, Bonnie lad. Tiger, you were there. You know it. And you can't prove you weren't. Phil Berryman, I've never interviewed him. Ever. I've met him once. I've never written one article about you, ever. Prove it. I've retweeted an article in Vice magazine about you, but that's it. I've never edited any paperwork. Prove it. And I've never edited any videos. Prove it. Davy Glover approached me and Neil Jackson for an interview, and we obliged. Nothing was edited out other than a few ers and ahs. He seemed like he was telling the truth for a change, but that's for the public to decide. Your obsession with me and the Sears is bordering on sexual, my friend, and you know more about gay bars than me. Come to think of it, that day I interviewed you about the craze, you were trying to flirt with me, but not being that way inclined, I didn't see the signs. Watching the video back, I can see it now. As I said to Ronnie Cray, each to their own. I hope you're happy out of the closet, big man. I've read some very interesting paperwork on you, Conroy. Book 2 might just be on the way. I've tried ringing you a few times on Sunday. You must have been rat catching or using your furry glove reading my books. Lots of love, big boy. Mr. Humphreys. P.S. I'm still up for a meeting or alive. Drop me a line. So I sent that last night. I didn't get a response. Maybe there'll be a video coming out tonight. But one thing's for sure, mate. With that particular war, I'm no victim. I'm somebody who will always stand my ground. And Mr. Conroy doesn't bother me in the slightest. And if he thinks he does, then he's picked the wrong fight and he's picked the wrong person. Believe you me. I'm an honest man. I'm an honest citizen. And I'm somebody who essentially does the right thing. And written some books for people which he disagrees with. But, you know, there's no war in this because Conroy can't win. There is no way that he can win this particular war. And what he's saying and what he's doing, I think most people can see. But I appreciate you asking that question, and you've got an honest answer. What about you? You sit and watch them. You've probably had your fair share of trolls yourself. What's your view, Ben?
Yeah, so I believe it's all a load of nonsense. I take people as I find them. I've met Sean. I think Sean's a nice guy. I've also had dealings with Darren over the past, who I think is an absolute moron. I think that he called me out on his social media, calling me a nonce, along with Stephen French and also Brian Cockerell. Apparently, we attended nonce parties together. His reasons for switching on me. I mean, I actually took Darren down to Somerset where he got his clothes branding all sorted out. I was there the day that he got it all organised. I've done a podcast with Darren the day that he done it with Michael Maisie. Everything was fine. Used to go to the gym with him a few times. Went and met him a few times for some food. Everything was fine. Then all of a sudden he switched on me, decided to start calling me a nonce, and I was jeopardising his message. I'm yet to still see what his message is actually doing to benefit anyone, to be honest, but that's a different story. And the reason I mentioned this is because he mentioned me again the other day on his Atwood and the cage fighter guy, Heggie, referred to me as being the lad from Coventry. Sean Atwood actually done an apology message wearing one of our campaign t-shirts, which I think got Darren's back up, to be honest. But again, he mentioned me. Everything that comes out of the lad's mouth is false information. You know, I had to listen to him slandering Sean Atwood back in a while ago when it was all kicking off. Now he's switched it around to James English saying exactly the same information. The information he tried to pass on about me was all false. So my honest opinion is I think he's an absolute clown, mate. I don't know the others to pass comment on them. So I've met Sean. I think Sean's a nice guy. I do think it's all for views. I think there's something going on behind the scenes that we probably don't know about. But yeah, that's as much as I can comment. And to be honest with you,
I clearly can say that the Sean and James thing isn't for views. I think that's sadly a fallout which has happened, and it's collateral damage from other fallouts. That's what's happened there, and misunderstanding on maybe one or both sides has affected it, and I feel. Yeah, I just feel a bit gutted because I think the two of them working together was better than that. But I've seen this stuff. I've seen Sean's rap sheet. I mean, the guy didn't need to send me that, but he sent me his rap sheet. I think Sean's made a good case. I think Sean's, by his own admittance, made a daft mistake by recording that video that he did. And everybody knows the story. It's all out there. But as always, people will always take sides. People will always. We'll always say, well, he's wrong and he's right. And there's nothing you can do. I've heard the same accusations levelled about Heggie, as I'm sure you have. And, that's another particular battle which seems to have gone quiet at the minute. I am going on Decker Heggie's podcast on Thursday night. I'm sure that his aim is to quiz me, a lot about what Conroy said. I've told Conroy, get your questions in. I've got nothing to hide. I've told him to get on that programme. He seems to trust Decker. To get yourself on, what you got to hide. We don't need lie detector tests to have a chat. I'd rather see you face to face on my own, but you clearly don't want to do that. Hernia or no hernia, I'm not sure what you think I'm going to do, other than defeat you with logic and fact, not fiction. And throwing around homophobic slurs, which are untrue, is not going to win you an argument. Be a man. Come and see me face to face is what I would say to him. And likewise, this seems to be, unfortunately, the way of the world now, Ben. It seems to be, let's go on a computer, hide behind a screen and shout, he's a nonce and he's this and he's that. And that's not the way forward.
How would we set an example to our kids, though, when you've got these notorious ex-criminals who admittedly, some of these kids will actually aspire to be like? What hope have we got when these adults are running around doing exactly the same sort of thing as what we're trying to teach the kids not to do, or what we're trying to prevent the kids from doing? To me, it's absolutely pathetic. I think it's schoolboy, it's playground mentality from adults, and I think I think they all need to grow up, to be honest with you.
Yeah, me too. I mean, God, you couldn't have pictured in the 1960s the Richardsons versus the Crays live on YouTube, could you?
Yes.
I mean, but that's it. Or Roy Shaw versus Lenny McLean, podcast wars.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you, mate. I think it's ridiculous. I really do. I think they need to man up and concentrate on something positive. I mean, Darren's got a good positive message, and he's got a good following. I think half of his following people are just watching to see what idiotic comments he comes out with. But I can't deny he has got some hardcore followers that will that defend him to their back teeth. So. It's a shame that he's not using his platform to actually do something positive with, and that's the reason why I jumped on board with him and I had a lot of time for him, is because you could see that his heart was in the right place. But I think he's completely detracted off that now, and he's more interested in slagging everyone else off, which I think is a shame, really.
Look, I can only speak as I find. I got on with Darren. I knew a little bit about your beef with him, but I didn't know the full SP. So, from my perspective, I'm sad to hear that that's just another one that's going on. I've got my own issue with Conroy, or he's got his issue with me, should I say? So, me getting involved in that is, that's not my interest. And Darren, since I interviewed him, we've had a few inboxes. I offered to go on a live stream with him a couple of weeks ago. But I'm not going to dictate to anybody who they should interview, and no one's going to dictate to me. And having you on, I'm not sure you'll be too happy about that, but I'm not bothered. I wanted to support your event, and that and support you, because I said I would do. Liam Ditchfield's interview, which comes up in the next couple of weeks, is great. And I've got to be perfectly honest, we didn't touch on anything to do with podcasts, wars, or YouTube, and that was deliberate. I got a great interview with him. We talked about his life, his crimes, his times, and how he's rehabilitated. And my aim really is, when I get people on, we didn't plan it, Ben. I like to do a little bit of research on who I'm interviewing, but I just like it to be a conversation and just have a chat and see where we go. And if it, somebody hits me with you're the second person to come on here and hit me with a question. Liam did the same when we recorded it last week, and I was like, whoa, and he was delighted that I'd answered the question, because probably a lot of podcast hosts don't do that, maybe.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you answering it. I've not done it to stir any trouble or anything like that. It's just something I've kept my mouth shut with the whole situation, and like you said, I've been trolled myself. When I first started getting trolled, I took it to heart and took it personally, but it's the water's off a duck back, it doesn't bother me now in the slightest, and I don't even read any of the comments that are put onto YouTube channels or anything like that, because it's, like you said, you can take it all to heart and you can make it personal, but these are just trolls at the end of the day that have got nothing better to do with themselves, and that's it, isn't it? Really. So
trolls are good for your algorithm on YouTube. To be fair, if people are leaving comments, and I mean, Conroy leaves his comments closed these days because he doesn't like people telling the truth. And ultimately on mine, I leave my comments open. If someone's going to be racist, homophobic, if they're going to put something which is out of order, of course I'm going to delete that comment. But 9 times out of 10, I don't. I leave things up. I think everyone should have a fair opinion. The only people I block on my channel are people who are abusive towards me, or people who are just spamming the page with stuff which which in case is just supporting the other side. And of course you're not going to have somebody like that on who's ruining the enjoyment of other people in the chat. But yeah, social media is, and this is where this particular part of the show came from. It can be a great thing, and it can be massive when you want to promote an event like you're doing, or promote a cause like you're doing. But it can be poisonous, and it can be awful. And again, it all ties back in with mental health, because unfortunately there are some people, Twitter especially, and this is something you won't experience because you're not a big football fan. But Newcastle United's Twitter timeline has been a nightmare over the last 15 months, and some people can take that and other people can't. And I've seen a few people flip when they've been attacked, either going behind a block, deleting their account. Some people taking it really to heart, and it affects people's mental health, Ben.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. I know people that have taken it to heart, and I know kids recently that have committed suicide due to being trolled online. I mean, it's just a social media platform that's used a lot by the kids is Snapchat. Snapchat's being used to promote weapons. Kids can buy weapons off Snapchat. It's also used for organising gang events that have been going on in London. We recently infiltrated a Snapchat group that was based in London, and they were arranging gang fights and all sorts. And to see what was on there, and the weapons that they were using on there was pretty scary, to be honest. It was scary stuff. Yeah. So social media, like you said, it's got its benefits, but it can easily be abused, can't it?
Of course it can, mate. Of course it can. Well, Ben, last chance to plug your event. Tell us where it is, how people can buy tickets again, mate.
Yeah, so the event's actually changed from the Rico Arena. It's actually now at the Heart of England Conference Centre. The reason we had to change it from the Rico Arena is because Coventry City have just started playing back at the Rico, and their football fixtures fell on the day of our event, unfortunately. So Rico had to cancel our boxing event, although it's been in the pipeline and penciled in there for many months. So it's now at the Heart of England Conference Centre, which is in a place called Phil Longley, which is again Coventry. If you want tickets, they're available at the Faces Productions, the littleboxoffice.co.uk, I think it is. Or if you just type that into the search bar, the Little Box Office, the Faces Productions, it will come up on there. So
Great stuff. Well, that's been a fascinating hour, mate. Thanks very much for taking the time. Best of luck with the event. Best of luck with the campaign. And if there's ever anything I can do, mate, just give us a shout. You know where I am, Ben.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, mate, and thanks for your support. I mean, you supported us 12 months ago, I think it nearly is now, at the your event that you put on. We were all wearing our T-shirts, etc. So I really appreciate it, mate. Thank you very much.
No worries, mate. Take care. Thanks very much, mate. Bye-bye.